Hey there, race fans. It's Race Day Top 5 with me, Frank 5. Short track racing on the 3/4 mile track in lovely Richmond, Virginia. Side by side action, wheeling it, saving your tires, saving your brakes, conserving all that. But I'm still trying to figure out two things. How did the 48 car do that? Number one. And number two, has it really been 4 years since the 48 team won a NASCAR Cup race? What? Let's talk about what happened today. Number one, Alex Bowman, new driver of the number 48 car. Still kind of what was the 88 team in past, but it's basically now renumbered the 48 team. Got their first win of the season, winning at Richmond today in the Toyota Owners 400, winning it over Denny Hammond, Joey Logano, Christopher Bell, and Martin Truex Jr. Alex Bowman had very impressive speed today, starting in 24th spot after, a good performance, but not a great finish last week at Martinsville after he was caught up in a crash and had to pit under green for a loose wheel. Bowman fought his way up into the top 10, and he showed some really competitive speed today and probably the best of the Chevy camp and the Hendrick cars all day long. But before the final stage began, as they were completing pit stops under yellow to begin the final stage, Alex Bowman had to restart tail on the longest line on the lead lap because they lost a wheel in the pit box. They had an uncontrolled tire, so they had to restart tail on Charlie. But he came marching his way through that field. Like, that car literally had at least an extra 50 horsepower underneath that motor, because that thing was passing cars left and right. It had incredible speed. It was just on rails today, and it looked like he was going to be selling for a third place finish at the end of the day. But with about 15 laps to go in the race, or less than 20 to go, Kevin Harvick, running in the top 10, cuts a left rear tire down and knocks it into the wall, or a right rear, whatever it was, knocking him into the wall, and that set up a late race restart with less than 15 laps to go. And Bowman just was on the get-go from the restart, as the leaders, Denny Hammond and Joey Logano, were battling side by side. Logano loses the outside on the restart. Bowman takes the second spot, and then Hamlin carries it a little wide, going off into one, and Alex Bowman takes the bottom and just drives away. But they were running into some lap traffic late in the race, because a lot of those cars that they were running to did not take the waiver on that last restart, and had really old tires. But Bowman did not look behind him, and he was able to bring home his first win of the season. The first win in the 48 car for Alex Bowman, as he's the new driver. The first win for the 48 car since the 2017 spring race at Dover, and I was there for that. It's literally been almost 4 years since this team won a NASCAR Cup race. And it is the first time since 2008 that Hendrick Motorsports is victorious in Richmond, and I was there for that race in the fall, and the winner was the 48 car of Jimmy Johnson. It's been literally since 2008. It's been almost 13 years since that team won at Richmond Raceway, and this time they have turned it around, and Alex Bowman has officially locked himself into the playoffs. He's kind of had a little bit of a meh start to the season. He won the pole for the Daytona 500, led the first lap, but then he was caught up in a big one early in the race, and that took out a lot of good cars, which, that's kind of what led to kind of a okay but not so great Daytona 500 with mostly single file racing after we restarted. And Bowman's had some good race cars, just hadn't had the luck to put it all together. They had a great car in Vegas. They were easily run top 5, maybe could have won the race and challenged eventual winner Kyle Larson, but they had to pit late because apparently there was a vibration in the car. He had a great run at Homestead, got himself the top 5, I believe. He's had some pretty good race cars this year, just hadn't had the luck or the track position to put it all together. Today, he finally did, and he overcame adversity to do it. So kudos to Alex Bowman. Very happy in his interview. A little emotional because one of his pit crew members, over the offseason, along with his wife, passed away in a car accident. Very sad, and I send my condolences to that family. But emotional one for Alex Bowman. And of course, people wondering, okay, well, now this guy, moved to the 48 with Ally, signed up to 2023. He's locked in for the future. Well, this was still a one-year deal that he got at the beginning of last year after he won the Fontana race. But I just saw an article that there are talks that Alex Bowman and Hendrick Motorsports are in contract negotiations, and I believe that will carry on with the Ally deal that's through 2023, hopefully longer, because Alex Bowman's a really good talent. He is almost 30 years old, but he's still fairly young and can win races and possibly maybe be a surprise dark horse championship contender. But the Alex Bowman 48 legacy, or era now, has officially begun, and I hope he can live up to that 48 legacy. And it was good to see Alex Bowman get a win and get some momentum on his side, and I'm very happy for him. Number 2, Denny Hammond. He's arguably been one of the most consistent drivers this year, leading the entire category of drivers this year in laps led, but he's still missing the W. He almost did it last week in Martinsville. He almost did today. He led the most laps. He led over, I believe, 200 laps. He won stage 2. I mean, he was just on rails today. He definitely looked like, I think he also won stage 1, believe it or not. He was just on rails. It looked like he was going to do it. Then Joey Logano passes him late with about 40 laps to go, and Logano and Hammond having a great battle, and of course the caution for Harvick comes out. Hammond's team beats Logano off of pit road, and I'm thinking this race is Denny Hammond's to lose. Well, he lost it as Alex Bowman did get the best of him on that late race restart, and he had to settle for second place. I mean, Denny Hammond fans, please do not panic. The cars are fast. They are race winning. They're a top 3 team right now, but they shouldn't be this close to trying to win a race. They should have at least 2 to 3 wins by now. Because I'm looking at this 11 team. I mean, it's literally, 2019, 2020 is still there for Denny Hammond as far as his dominance and wins and just being consistent. It's there for him. He just has to get to that finish line first. It's going to happen. I know Denny Hammond's frustrated, but the wins are coming. Take your time. Be calm. When Denny Hammond wins a NASCAR race, as I mentioned, he's going to be winning a lot more. So, not worried about Denny Hammond yet as far as his performance. The cars, the speed's there. They just got to put it together when it matters most. Number 3, Joey Logano, arguably one of the best Fords today, although Brad Keselowski at times was good, but he faded late because of a pit strategy that didn't work out in his favor. Joey Logano was pretty much the best of the Ford camp today, running up front, battling it out with the Gibbs guys and Alex Bowman all day long, took the lead late, and it looked like, as I mentioned, he was going to run away with the race, but again, with that late race yellow for Kevin Harvick cutting the tire, Logano's team had to settle for pitting with everybody else on the lead lap still, which, by the way, was only 8 cars, because that's how dominant a lot of these guys were passing these guys that had poor handling race cars today. Logano lost the lead on pit road on that pit stop to Denny Hammond, and I felt like, Logano's going to be really aggressive on the restart, but he spun the tires, and that put him behind Alex Bowman. But the 22 team, though, has shown really good speed. They're still a really good team. They're top 5 team right now. Joey Logano is going to get a lot more wins. Looked like he was going to be the second repeat winner of the season. Instead, we now have 8 different winners. So Joey Logano definitely is in good shape for the rest of the year. Number 4, Martin Truex Jr., pretty eventful time for him. Virginia just seems to be a good friend to Martin Truex Jr., of course, winner of last week's race. And it looked like he was going to do it today, battling it out with Denny Hammond and Logano. He led 107 laps. It looked like he was going to be in position to take the win from Hammond or Logano. But on one of the green flag pit stops in the final stage, Martin Truex Jr. was caught for speeding on pit road. And that put him behind the 8 ball. He luckily was not able to lose a lap. He stayed in front of the leader and started passing guys. And then, of course, the caution came out late, and he was able to take advantage of some stops, getting some positions on the pit stops, and fought his way up to get a 5th place finish. This 19 team, really strong, good run today. If they hadn't had that speeding penalty, I think they could have been battling up closer with Hamlin, Logano, and Bowman on that late race restart. But we'll never know. And number 5, 2 guys that desperately needed some good runs today. I mean, really needed to get their season turned around. And that was Eric Almarola and Matt Benedetto. Eric Almarola, ladies and gentlemen, before today, he had not had a top 10 finish this season. This is a team that's been to the playoffs the last 3 years. Granted, 2018 has been by far Almarola's best season. 2019 was pretty good. 2020 last year was just okay. They were able to get into the playoffs. But so far this year, their best finish, I believe, was 11th. That out of top 10. And today, they finally put it together with a great run today, coming home in 6th place. Their first top 10, that gives them a little bit of momentum. Here's the problem, though. They're still 27th in the point standings. It's basically they need to start getting a win. This team has good speed, but, so far this year, we've seen the struggles with Stewart-Haas Racing. And, of course, Harvick had a great run today before the tire went away. Almarola, had a really good run today. He definitely had good pace, good speed, and this is a track that he's been pretty good at in the past. I mean, if you think about it, a couple years ago in 2015 when he was driving the 43 car, and it was a Ford, and they were pretty good that season, he missed the playoffs, but he was coming at the very end after Joey Logano and Matt Kenseth at the time. Almarola knows how to get around Richmond Raceway. And as for Matt Benedetto, he also needed this. He did not have a top 10 coming into this. Best finish, I believe, was 11th or 12th. He had a 12th place, I think, last week after the right front fender was destroyed after he was involved in an incident. Benedetto battled hard, was able to capitalize on a pit stop early in the race where everybody was pitting under green, and then a caution came out for Ryan Newman hitting the wall. Benedetto, along with a couple others, stayed out, and he was able to stay on the lead lap and gain a little track position, and he literally never lost that track position. He stayed in top 10 pretty much the rest of the race. So a big confidence boost for the 2021 team, and they're beginning to climb the standings. They're only 2 spots out of the playoffs right now. So the Benedetto fans, stay optimistic. You could point your way in, but the way things are right now with guys winning races, it's more than likely you're going to need to win to get into the postseason. So the clock's ticking. We've got half of the drivers in the playoffs. I mean, we could have more than 16 winners this year with the pace we've got, with what we got right now. It's highly possible. So the Benedetto, they're beginning to put things together, and as well as Almarola, they just need to keep that momentum going. Top 10s, which are solid runs, build confidence not only in the team, not only in the driver, but in the entire organization, and it can build momentum going forward. So we'll see if the 10 and 21 are able to carry that momentum the next couple of weeks. So next week, it's going to be a curveball, and I'll explain why a little bit later. Finally, driver recap, Chase Elliott, 12th place. We could almost never figure out Richmond. We finished 5th in the fall last year, and I was very happy about that. It was a great run, and it felt like, Elliott, starting to get a grip on Richmond Raceway. We started 3rd today. We ran in the top 5 the first couple laps, then we fell back. The car was just so tight in the beginning, and then it just got loose, tight, fell a lap down, got our lap back, got a lap down. We took the wave run with everybody else on that late race yellow, instead of the late race restart, and we just could settle for a 12th place finish. Not a bad point state, but we didn't score any stage points. We got to figure out Richmond, because this is the playoff race at the fall. I think Chase Elliott pretty much actually runs a little bit better during the nighttime in Richmond than he does in the daytime. But oh well, we'll go to work. But this track, it can be a mystery about setups and everything. You think you've got it figured out. You bring the same setup you had in the previous race. You bring it over to the next time we come back here, and sometimes it doesn't work. So we're gonna have to throw away the setup we had today and go to a different one when we come back here in the fall, probably as a playoff team, which I believe he will be. So I would also like to acknowledge that today was the first race for the IndyCar season. And in that race, we had Jimmy Johnson, who's now driving for Chip Ganassi in the IndyCar series. He competed in his first IndyCar start today. He finished 1 lap down the top 20, but at least he was able to stay relatively clean. He missed a big wreck on the first lap, which sadly took out a couple of contenders, including Ryan Hunter-Reay, Colton Herta, championship contenders, and my guy Joseph Newgarden, who caused it by getting out in the grass and getting loose and going around. So we got to bounce back from that. But the big story was Johnson's teammate, Alex Palou, in his second season in IndyCar, now driving for Chip Ganassi, held off 2 IndyCar champs in Will Power and Scott Dixon to win the opener at Barber Motorsports Park in Alabama today. So kudos to Alex Palou, because it looked like Pato O'Ward and Alexander Rossi had their hands on the race, but Alex Palou got the best of them. Great job by the whole 10 team, and could this be a Cinderella story to battle for the championship this year? It's only the first of many races, folks, so we got a lot of IndyCar season. I'm excited it's back, and Formula One obviously has been back for a while. Hamilton, Verstappen look like the best of everybody right now. But that's it for the NASCAR Cup Series at Richmond. Next week, we're off to Talladega, to Sweet Home, Alabama, where the skies are so blue. Leonard Skinner. And it'll be 3-wide, 4-wide action all day long. There's going to be a lot of cars battling it out for the lead, comers and goers, and hopefully everybody can stay clean in the first couple laps and not do the Daytona 500 like we had earlier this year, where almost half the field wrecked in the first 15 laps. So hopefully we can keep it clean. We do have a couple of interesting storylines into this race about, teamwork. Be Chevys versus Fords, and that the Toyotas will have to mix in with whoever they can find. Harrison Burton will be making his Cup debut for Gaunt Brothers Racing, pending no more than 40 entries in the field, which I don't believe they will. And Jennifer Jo Cobb, who is a driver and truck owner for her team in the Truck Series, will make her Cup debut for Rick Ware Racing in the number 15 car. That'll be very interesting, and welcome to your first Cup starts, Harrison and Jennifer Jo, and we'll see what you guys can do. But next week will be very interesting. Who will cause the big one first? My money's on Stenhouse. Who will survive? Who will conquer? Will it be Chase Elliott, who won there 2 years ago? Will it be Ryan Blaney, who won in phenomenal fashion in that delayed race at Talladega early last year over Eric Jones and Stenhouse and those guys? Or will Denny Hammond win after winning perhaps one of the most controversial Talladega races last fall? We shall see what happens. Talladega is a curveball, and I can't wait for that party to get started. So subscribe, like, congrats to Alex Bowman and the 48 team. Go into the playoffs, locked in, and I hope you all have a blessed week. Until then, ciao.